Hi there everybody, and welcome to today's Tony Tech Talks. These are talks that are organised on a monthly basis where we can deep dive into the platform that's KantanMT.com. And the great thing about these talks is that you guys set the agenda. You give me a topic to talk about, and I try my best to actually give you an insight or the behind-the-scene thinking in Kantan as to how we develop that particular topic or particular feature of our product. Now today we had a draw. We had 3 topics sent out, and 2 of them received the most votes. Both of them received 7 votes. So what we're going to talk about today, well actually 2 topics that I've been asked to talk about. The first one was to talk through the new user interface of the product, which is what you're looking at the moment. We launched this new user interface last week. And then the second topic that got the most votes, 7 votes, was how do you set up and run a KantanLQR language quality review project. Now it has to be said, I was a little bit disappointed that the third topic, which was KantanMT, only received 6 votes. So we didn't quite make it on KantanMT on this particular tech talk. But you know, you set the agenda, and we'll try our best to adhere to that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk about the first 2 topics: the new user interface, and also how to set up a project in LQR and how to run one of those projects, because we have some really nice new features that I think you'll see when you start using the product. So anyway, so when you log onto the platform, you're brought to your new dashboard. So let me just clear my cache here. So here's the new dashboard that you'll see, guys, when you log onto the Kantan platform. You see we have a whole new look and feel, but hopefully you'll see the family resemblance between the new product and the old product. It's very important that you get that family connection, or that product connection. So, you know, we don't want you guys to have to go and relearn how to use our product. If anything, we want to enhance your user experience and make it easier to use the facilities of the product. So you can see here that we've got some tabs here. We've renamed 1 or 2 of the tabs. So you can see we have an engines tab here, which lists all the engines that you're working on, which is pretty cool. You then have a training tab. That used to be called training data before. We've just abbreviated that down to training. And that's where you will add all your training data and so on and so forth. And then we have a translation tab that previously was called client data. Of course, that meant it made a lot of sense to us, but when we ran some usability tests with our clients, they couldn't really figure out what client data meant. Of course, it's the data you want to translate using one of your engines. And then the last tab, which was called the API tab, we've renamed that as deploy, because that's exactly what you're doing. You're taking an engine and deploying it into the cloud. So hopefully with that renaming convention, and we did do A/B testing and usability testing to come up with that wording, hopefully that will make the product a little bit easier to work. So if you want to select, say, an engine to start your MT machine translation project off, of course, you have a brand new feature called the Fleet feature, which is Kantan Fleet. And built into Kantan Fleet, we have about 250 engines now available for everybody that they can start using straight away, and they can just copy those engines and launch them in their accounts. We've broken it out into a number of different domains: legal, financial, medical, automotive, technical, KantanMT, and generic. And in fact, since Neural did get 6 votes, let me show you how to copy a Neural engine into your account. So you click on the Neural domain and you hit the next button, and then you'll be brought to a list of all of our Neural engines. Now we've got about 20 Neural engines completed at this stage, and they're very, very large, high quality engines, and we've got another 10 engines in development. So we'll reach about 30 engines in the next 2 weeks. So, and everybody worldwide will have access to those Neural engines. So let's say I want to take, we'll take an English to, well actually I've got the English to Spanish already in there. Let's take Portuguese to English as an example of a Neural engine. So if you hit the next button here, it gives you a summary of the number of words in the engine. So the total number of words is 123 million, so it's quite a large engine, or well, that would be a medium-sized engine, I guess, on our platform. Its blue score is 69, which is a very nice blue score, it has to be said. And its unique word count, which is always a key figure. You always kind of want to get an engine in and close to 1 million words, is 775. So that would be in the upper end of a high-quality engine. And all you do is you hit the Add button, and that engine will automatically be added to your account, and then you can take that engine, you can add in your own training data and adapt that engine, and of course you can then translate documents using that engine as well. The other part of the user interface that you might find a little bit different, I guess, than before, is that we do have a tab now called Adaptive. Okay, so all of the engines, be them neural engines or statistical engines, are now fully adaptive engines. So all you do is you click on the Adaptive tab, and you can drag a spreadsheet with all of your new translation suggestions directly into this tab, and that will immediately modify the engine and start generating or impacting the output of that engine. What's really cool about that feature, by the way, guys, is that if you are running an engine live on the cloud, let's say you've deployed an engine, we used to call that launching the engine into API mode, we now call that deploying an engine. If you've deployed an engine and you drag files into this tab while that engine is running, this will automatically adapt that engine while the engine is in deployed mode, or in the new name for API mode. So now you have complete control over how an engine reacts to the latest translation suggestions and terminology suggestions. Now we've made it really easy to upload bulk data into your Adaptive tab, and all you have to do is create a spreadsheet either called Adaptive or AdaptiveMT.xls, and that will automatically add that data into your engine. It takes about 60 seconds for that data to be available to your engine and for it to start influencing your future translations. It's a really nice little feature, and of course it works on statistical and neural engines. The other thing that we've added in here is we have a template tab. You remember we used to have a tab here, we now have a template button. So you just select template, and you can actually select the templates that your engine is based on directly from a drop-down list. So it's a much more organized way of adding templates. And you know, guys, please use templates. Templates makes it so easy to build large engines that are based on shared training data. And you know, the great thing about a template is if you change the data in the template, our system tells you all of the engines that are impacted by that data change. So it's a nice way to introduce a more advanced object-oriented way of building engines. Really cool features. There's not a single engine in our fleet and our library that's not built with engines with templates today. It's a really, really powerful feature. Now, so that's kind of a quick run around of the user interface. Okay, so the second part of it was how do you oh, and just before I go, guys, let me just show you one really, really cool feature. When we ran usability testing, a number of our clients came back and said, you know, we love this feature called PEX, post-editing automation, but it's really kind of difficult to generate a text file with those rules. So we actually built a complete visual editor to actually get by that problem. So now you actually go into the rules editor, you can type in some sample text here, you can write your rule, you can test the rule by hitting the test rule button here, and it shows you how that rule is run against your engine. So it's a really cool interactive way now of building PEX rules, and you can use the same editor for preprocessor, source processor, and target preprocessors as well. So it's a really nice way of making it just a lot easier to use some of the advanced features of our platform. Okay, so what's this thing about building projects in KantanLQR? How do you do that? Well, KantanLQR is a feature that we developed at the same time that we were developing NeuralMT. And the reason we built this ability to run language quality review or language quality assurance projects was that one of the biggest challenges faced in the industry this year will be to compare the output of statistical systems to neural-based MT. And the reason clients want to do that is because they don't want to introduce a neural engine into production unless they've got a cast-iron guarantee that that engine will outperform the statistical engine. Remember, statistical engines still are state-of-the-art MT. They produce really good quality. Neural, in a lot of cases, will outperform that, but I guess you have to validate that in order to make that switch and switch out the statistical engine and replace it with a neural-based engine. So what KantanLQR does is it allows you to automate the process of testing engines, okay? So you can do a sample A/B test, or you can do a full LQR language quality review test. Okay, so what I'm going to show you today is how to create a project for a full LQR. In other words, you want to evaluate the quality of translation coming from either a neural or statistical engine. So the first thing you want to do is give the project a name. So I'm going to call this engine TTT, which is Tony's Tech Talks, and we'll call this Sample LQR project. So we'll just give it a meaningful name. And we have two types of projects. You can do an A/B test. That's how you would rank the translation from, say, a statistical engine versus a neural engine, or from engine A to engine B, or a language quality evaluation. I'm going to do a language quality evaluation. I want to see what sort of quality I'm getting from my engine. My source language in this particular sample here is English. My target language is in Spanish, so it's an English-Spanish LQR language quality review. I want to start the project immediately. That's today's date, so I'm going to start the project immediately. You can actually schedule these projects by putting in different start dates and so on. And I want the system now to create that project. So what that's gone and done is, and it's made it my active project as well, it's created a LQR project called TTT Sample Project and made it active. You can see it's just appeared here in my dashboard of LQR projects. Now the next thing I need to do is now determine what factors of quality I'm going to get my professional translators to measure. Okay, and what they are, they're referred to as KPIs, Key Performance Indicators. Okay, and you can see that this project has no KPIs there. So what I can do is I can add some, what we refer to as KPI factors to the project. So just hit add. So we have compulsory KPIs. That means the translator has to ask these questions when translation is displayed on the screen. And then we have optional KPIs, which are ones that they can either ignore or ignore because there's no need to grade or enter an error situation in those KPIs. So I'm going to make 3 compulsory KPIs. I want the translator to give me a sense of the adequacy of the translations they're evaluating. I want them to give me a sense of the fluency of the translation, and I want the translators to give me an overall quality rating. Okay, so they're the 3 compulsory KPIs I'm going to add into this project. And then I've got these optional ones. So for optional, I'm going to ask them to comment on the style of the translation. I want to know a little bit about the syntax and grammar, you know, word placement and things like that. And sure, we'll ask them a little bit about the tech. Tech is placeholders in the correct location. Are they in the have they been removed? Are they missing, and things like that. Now these KPIs, by the way, guys, are based on MQM, the multi-dimensional quality matrix, which is a standard in the industry for measuring translation quality. Okay, so it is a standard in the industry. So I'll just add that in there as well. Now, it must be stressed, by the way, that even though I put 6 KPIs in the project here, I can actually build my own set of KPIs. So if I click on the KPI tab, the system comes pre-configured with a huge range of KPIs, and they are from different quality regimes. So for instance, we have the DQF harmonized MQM framework. So anything that has DQF in front of it is the DQF version. And then we have the full set of MQM. The full MQM framework is implemented here as well. So all the guys from academia, they love that because they go to town on the MQM framework. It's the most comprehensive framework. It was built by the QT Launchpad project there a number of years ago. And of course, if they're not good enough for you, you can actually create your own set of KPIs as well. So we have the ability now to build your own set of KPIs as well. Now I won't have time to go in. I won't have time to go into how to build a KPI today, but nonetheless, the message is there. You can build your own KPIs as well. So let's go back into my project. So I've added into my project TTK sample. I've added in my KPIs. Now I have to add in some test data to assess during the LQR project. So for this, I've simply created a file earlier on today, and that file contains some English source text. There's about 200 segments here, so I'll just copy that simply into the clipboard. It's the quickest way to get the data into the system. I'll go back in here, and I'll hit add, and it tells me to enter my source data. So I'm just going to add in that English source data. Remember, this engine is going to compare English to Spanish translation. I'll hit the next button there, and then I'll switch over and just grab my, I beg your pardon, this is French, not Spanish, my mistake. So I'll just take French there and throw that into the control as well, and then just add that data and say yes to the confirmation dialog box. So you can see now that my data has been added to the project, okay? And then the last thing I need to do is simply add in the names of all the translators I want this project to be sent to, so that they can all evaluate the quality of the project. And that's very simple. You just hit the add button here and you type in all the names. Now I have a lot of translators already registered on the system here. I'll just throw in my own name. What's really cool of this, by the way, is you can put in 20, 30, 40 names at the one time. And everybody in this recipient list will be sent an email to say that they've been added to this particular project. In that email will be a link, and if they click on that link, they will go to a web portal where they can immediately start evaluating the translation automatically. And it's all done real time, guys. Every translator is communicating and updating the database with all his evaluations real time. So what does the translator see when he's looking at this project? Well, if you hit the preview button here, it gives you a preview of what the translator will actually see. So this is what the translator sees. So we've got the 6 KPIs, the 3 compulsory ones with the star: adequacy, fluency, and overall quality. You can see if you hover over that, we get a nice little pop-up to say what they actually mean. And style, if I click on style, all the actual different types of styles pop up. So wrong spelling, wrong terminology, omission, non-compliance, and so on, they all pop up. If I click on the grammar, I've sentence structure could be an error, punctuation could be an error, wrong words could be an error, capitalization, and then tech. You can see that these come up automatically. Now, I'm using the mouse here, guys, but believe me, you don't need to use the mouse here. You simply go in here and add the first 2 or 3 letters of each type of error and press return, and you can see that that adds that to, I'm using the keyboard now, and you can see how fast translators now can actually select errors and, I beg your pardon, and move on from the tag as well. So it's really, really quick to use the keyboard. Here you can use the mouse, or you can use the cursor keys and everything. If you look at this control here, the yellow is the text that I'm currently reviewing, and the box above it and below it is the before segment and after segment, just in case there's some contextual information that you can derive from the order in which the translation is delivered to you. And you can see here that this, I've done no segment translation here. It's 0 of 49. Now this little thing here is a timer, and what this actually is doing is calculating the productivity of your reviewers. Okay, so it's a pretty nice way to figure out how quick reviewers are working, or how fast they can post edit your content. And of course down here they can actually add in the post edits for that particular translation to improve the translation and bring it up to publishable quality. Now the really cool thing about KantanLQR, of course, is the fact that we track all the statistics from all of your translators automatically. So if I go back into my dashboard here and select one of my sample projects, adjacent to all the projects, you'll see this little graph symbol. And if you click on that graph symbol, at any stage during a project, you'll be able to view the feedback from all of your translators. So this particular project here is a sample project. We had 2 reviewers working on it, Carlos and Laura. They were reviewers from Kantan. And you can see that they gave us a very good adequacy score. There's the adequacy score graded. So these are 5. So 21% of the segments were graded as 5, meaning the highest possible adequacy. Only 8% were graded as a 2 or a 1. So these are the segments that I'd be interested in looking at to see why these segments are bad and see what we can do to improve the engine. You can see that we have fluency here again. 27% of the segments were rated as a 5, the highest possible score for fluency. Again, 23% had little fluency. So I'll be looking at these segments to see what's gone wrong with the engine and to hopefully improve that. If you move then down to, say, for instance, style and grammar here, you can see the error distribution based on the MQM framework, because that's what I use, the MQM framework, for this. So 37% of the segments had 0 errors, 9% had added text, 23% had literal translation. If you hover over here, you can see the rates as well. 21% of the segments had omissions or over translations, or segments not, or words not translated. And then we had 9% had added text. So it's a really nice way to see the quality of your engines, and to get an estimate as to whether or not this engine is worthy of going into production. Now, we use this system every single day of the week when we're tracking and evaluating the quality of engines, okay? Now, for those of you that really want to download all the data and do your own type of data analysis or number crunching, you can simply download the data directly into a spreadsheet, and you will get a full listing of all of the feedback from your translators in the tabs, including the ratings of what sort of error and so on. So it's a full, very detailed spreadsheet, and you can run that through your own number crunching as well. Of course, you know, using our graphs is pretty cool as well. You can get all the data there as well. Each of the tabs then breaks down each of the KPIs that you've set for a particular project. And then, so if I select on overall quality, or even tech, or even style, you can see that we get a full listing of all the errors. We get each of the segments with the errors and who actually graded that particular segment as well. That's kind of neat. If you drill into the segment, then you get, you know, what post-edits the translator actually enacted to improve the level of the quality. So you can see there that we've actually color-coded the post-edits as made by the translator. Again, all very valuable information for improving machine translation engines. And then in the end, you can actually get the stats from your engines there, of your translator. So you can see there that Laura is much more productive. The average time taken to modify a segment was 90 milliseconds compared to 180 milliseconds by Carlos. So obviously Laura is a much more, I guess, skilled and faster working translator. So thank you very much, guys, for today. I hope I've gone through, well, I know I've gone through a lot in a very short period of time, but hopefully I've done it in a way that makes sense, modular, and can easily be replicated if you should try to create one of these projects yourself using KantanLQR. So thank you very much for your suggestions this week. Thank you very much for your attention and for attending this session. And I look forward to seeing you at the next TTT at the end of July. Have a great evening. Thanks very much, guys. Bye-bye.